Yeah, I hope you remember. The last class we covered what is function and how the functions will be executable. So, and also I mentioned what is the predefined function and what is the user-defined function. So now we will see the what is the recursion function. So recursion function means recursive. I mean to say recursive. So function means if any function called by itself. So if any function called by itself, then it's called recursive function or recursion function. So that means the function itself will call respective function, and we have to very careful in this kind of situation because a recursive function will act as a sometimes loops. Okay, that means if you're not properly terminate the condition, or if you're not written the proper exit condition, the function will call itself infinite loop. So it leads to infinite loop and the function never stops. So whenever you are writing a recursion function, please careful about two things. What is the generic condition to repeat the function, and what is the exit condition to stop the recursion. So these two are very important whenever you are writing recursive functions. So the simple syntax, if you speak about, let's take the f1 if you speak, and the f1 will call f1 itself. So this is how we will write a recursive function, like the same function we are calling within the respective function. So that is how we technically called as recursive functions in Python. Okay, so now we'll see one example with respect to recursive function. So I'm going with a factorial because you know, right? So a factorial nothing but, let's take example, a 5 factorial nothing but what it is internally 5 into 4 factorial, right? Similarly, what is internally meaning again? So 5 into 4 into 3 factorial. So likewise, it will keep on repeated till the 0 factorial. So once we got the 0 factorial, then we have to stop the repetition, I can say that. So likewise, in these kind of scenarios or in these kind of situations, we can better to go with what we call recursive functions. So that I'm going to be explaining now, recursive functions. So here I'm taking a new Python file. So where I'm taking an example, factorial, okay. Or else, 1 second. Yeah, in the functions I'm taking new Python file. Let's take recursion function demo, okay. So here, as I mentioned, right, I want to find the factorial. So for that, first of all, I'm taking the value that is n equal to int of input of enter value, and now I want to find the output of the given value. So r is equal to, let's take fact of n. So this r is the result. I'm printing the result. So print r. But before that, I just want to write a function which is which is a recursive. So here I'm writing definition. So FACT fact. So here I'm writing definition fact of n. Okay. So now we have to careful about like few things. So the first one is here, if n is, as I mentioned, right, we have to careful about the exit condition. So if n equal to 0, we have to stop the recursion by returning the value called 1. Okay. L if, so if n greater than 0, so that means it is having more than 1. So now we have to do the recursive. Like example, if you go for 2 only, so what we have to do, 2 into factorial of n minus 1, that is 1. Similarly here also, if I want to give 2 means 2 into 1, 5 means 5 into 4, n means n into n minus 1, that is what I'm trying to explain. So n into fact of n minus 1 again. See, this fact of n minus 1 again, it's calling the line number 1. So likewise, it is calling internally the same function until you are getting n value 0. Okay. So this is what we call the recursive function. And the last condition, if you want to validate, the last condition is obviously negative value. So if you want to check the negative case also, then you can write return, simply can write invalid. Okay, so this is the flow of a simple recursive function. I'm now trying to execute it. So here I'm giving a 0 as a value, so straight away it's giving 1. And if I'm giving a 5 as an input, it's giving 120, see that. And if I'm giving, let's take minus some 5, then giving invalid. Okay, so likewise the factorial is executing. Okay, so the function called internally. So how it is internally executing means, so as I mentioned, right, the first it will, we are giving n value, let's take example 3. Okay, so now is it 3 equal to 0? No. Is it 3 greater than 0? Yes. So now it will return 3 into fact of 3 minus 1, that is 2. And then still it is internally calling again fact of 2. So what is the fact of 2 again? Mali again n value 2. So now it will give you 3 into fact of 2. That means 2 into fact of 1. 2 into fact of 1. And now if you see here again 3 into 2 into 1 into fact of 0. So now finally n value 0. So now it doesn't continue the loop because n equals 0, it's not written again, it's not calling the fact, it's simply written the 1. So now finally it is returning 3 into 2 into 1 into 1. Now this is your final output. So likewise the recursion will execute step by step whatever the logic we written. Okay, so this is all about recursion function. So please try to understand a recursion function means a function called by itself, then we called it as a recursion function. So I'm giving 1 to 2 minutes of time. Please look on the code and look on the logic. Right? If you're not getting, please ask me. పైకి వెళ్ళుకున్నాను పైకి వెళ్ళుకున్నాను ఒకటి హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్ మళ్ళీ వద్దు బయటకు వెళ్ళి మంచిగా
if they are making that.
Okay, so I thought everyone clear. And now I'm going with the next function, lambda function. Okay. So basically, lambda function is a inline function, or I can say that simple one-line function. Okay. So whenever you want to write any code in the single line, generally we use the lambda functions. Okay. The basic difference between regular functions and lambda functions is regular functions we are writing in the multi-line, but lambda we are writing in the single line. And I will tell you the simple high-level difference so you can easily understand. And the first. The difference, first one is where you are using the def keyword. So def, let's take example, sum of two numbers. I'm taking an example, a of b. Okay. And now I'm just returning the a plus b. So let's take example, this is the sum of the two numbers code. Okay. So now if you want to write the same code in the lambda functions, so first we have to use the lambda. So this is the what we can say that keyword. So here we are using def keyword, here we are using lambda. And here the code, whatever we are writing in the multiple lines. But here the entire code will be written single line, simply lambda. And here, whatever the inputs you want to pass, give the inputs, colon, followed with output. So that is A plus B. So likewise, we are writing the lambda. And the last point, here we are writing the sum as a name to the function. But lambda, we are not giving any names basically. Okay. So that's why lambda is also called as anonymous functions. Anonymous. Okay. Anonymous functions means nameless functions. Okay. So now if you want to use this function, you have to give some name to this. Let's take example, let us some reference to that. We don't have name. So x equal to, let's take. Now if I want to run this function, you can call by using x of. So x of, let's take 10 comma 25 giving. So you are getting the 30 as an output. So this is the lambda function. Simple. Multi-line functions we are simplifying in the single line, as like list comprehension we are simplifying the function the single line. So where we are using this particular lambda functions mainly in expressive way, that means only mathematical or numerical calculations, then only we'll write. For other like database connections or any big logics, we may not go for lambda logics. And I will show you same example practically, then maybe we can go for other topic. So let's take demo. Okay. So here, as I mentioned, very simple example. Let's take x is equal to, just before I written, right, lambda a comma b and a plus b. So now if I want to call it, so print x of, let's take 10 comma 20. So now you are getting the output of 30. See, the 30 is coming. Okay. So likewise, in single line, if you want to write any code of function, then we can use this lambda functions. So any doubt in lambda functions? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. And now we will see the different types of variables. Okay. So first thing is, we have two types of variables with respect to scope of the data accessibility. So one is local variables, second one is global variables. Okay. So local variables means the variables which we defined within the function. So whatever the variables you defined within the function, we called as local variables. And what are the variables you defined outside the function, we called as global variables. Why? Because what are the variables you defined within the function, so that variables can be used within that function only. You cannot use outside the function. But whereas the variable which you defined outside the function as a global variable, so that can be used in multiple functions also. So that is the basic difference between local variables and global variables. That means if you have only one-time usage, go for local variables. If you have multiple uses, I mean to say multiple times you want to use that variable, go for global variables. That is the basic idea of the local variables and global variables. So now you see, maybe we can go for some examples so you can understand. So local means, as I mentioned, right? So definition, let's take, I'm taking two functions here. F1, let's take here, I'm writing print, okay. Before that, I'm writing a equal to 10, okay. So here now, a is called local. I can say local a is equal to comma 10. Sorry, not 10, a. Now I'm writing another function called definition F2, okay. Now let's take, I'm taking b equal to 20, okay. And now b also local to the F2, okay. So let's take local b is equal to, let's take b, okay. So here both a and b are called as local variables only, okay. The only difference, a is local to the F1, b is local to the F2. That's the only the difference. Let's take, I'm calling now F1 and F2, okay, F1 and F2. So the both the variables will be printing with the respective values. Like example, if you see here, a value will be 10 and b value will be 20. Now let's take example. If I'm trying to access the local a here, let's take example local a comma a. Now you won't get a value here. See that a is showing error because A is not C, unresolved difference A, because A is you defined in the function F1, there is no doubt, but that A is not available in the F2. So that's why you're showing A not referencing as a F2. So that's why the clear-cut difference you may understand now, the local variable cannot access in the multiple functions. So in which function you created, the same function only you can use it. You cannot use the same variable outside the function. But if I want to use it, sir, then you have to do two ways. We have an option. One is define something outside the function. Let's take C equal to, I'm writing 30. So now C is defined outside the functions. So now the C will become global. So you can use in both what we call F1 and F2. Global C is equal to comma C. Now the same line even you can write in the F2 also, because C is a global. So in both the places you can able to execute. See, C will be printed double time in the F1 FC. C will be 30 and C will be 30. So this is the beauty of the global variables. Now once you create the global variable, you can use that in the multiple places or multiple usages. And similarly, the last point here I want to tell you, sir, okay, let it be, we get defined outside, yes, it's a global. We define something inside, it is local, there is no doubt. But sir, if I defined as a local, but I want to use in the other functions, is there any possibility? Yes, we have. So the local variable also can be converted as a global by using a keyword called global keyword. So now if you write global A within the function, it is not there in the outside, but still within the function, but you written a global keyword. So that's why you can able to access the A in the F2 now. Now see, A is not showing any other. You can able to print the A value in the F2 also. See that F2 we are getting A value 10. So that is the way we can mark any variable in two ways as a global. One is the variable which we defined outside the function, by default it is a global. Okay. The variable which we defined within the function, by default it is a local. There is no doubt in that. But if you want to define a local variable within the function as a global, you should use a special keyword called global keyword. If you define outside the function as a global, no need of keyword, directly you can write the just a variable name. So this is the difference between local variable and global variable. So if anyone have any doubt, please ask me. So this is about local and global variables concept. So even some people will ask you question like, can you explain scope of the variable? So scope of the variables anna, types of variables anna in function same. Like scope means local scope and global scope. Any doubt as of now?
No, sir.
Okay. So the next point here is how can we pass the arguments? Okay.
Sir, can we use function inside and function?
Yes, we can use Python supports nested functions also. And this is mainly this topic you can use in the decorators topic basically. Decorators we mostly used in this nested functions only. But we have that approach. So nested function support also we have in Python. Yes, we have. The topic also will come as part of decorators. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now coming back to the where we are. Yeah. Where I mean to say argument types, I can say that. Okay. So basically argument types we have, I can say first one is call by value and call by reference. So we can pass the inputs to the function two ways. As an object we can pass, as a variable we can pass. If you are passing as a variable, we called it as a call by value. If you are passing as an object, we called it as a call by reference. Very simple example I will tell you. See, definition, let's take sum I'm taking. Okay, so let's take if I'm giving 10 comma 20, sorry A comma B. Okay. Now you are writing, let's take C equal to A plus B. And now print C. Okay. So this is the one way of sending the A comma B to the sum. The another way is definition sum, I can say 2 or I make it as a sum 1. Okay. So first approach is individual I'm passing A comma B separately. Now I'm making a simple as a list I'm taking. Okay. So now you can as a list if you're taking, so simply I'm writing, let's take C is equal to 0 and for X in Li, we written this logic already, C is equal to C plus X, and now finally print the C value. The only difference, internal logic, okay, it's based on our input. But the point I want to highlight is, see, in the first approach, we are passing the variables, and second approach, we are passing the list as an input. So now you see, I can call the sum 2 of 10 comma 20. Okay. Now I can call, sorry, sum 1 it is, first one. It is also sum 1. Okay. Yeah. So now it is sum 1. And now I want to call the sum 2. So sum 2 you can pass as a list, square brackets 10 comma 20. So now the same output you are getting for both that, but only the way passing we are changing. So here you see 30, 30. Now in the second example, you can increase the value also, it will work out because it carries all the values at a time. But if you increase the same value in the first approach, it will show the error because we are having the two variables we declared, but the third variable you're trying to sending, so it won't accept it. So if you want to make it again, you should change the logic as like some D or plus D, you can write like this. You got it? So this is the major difference of the call by value and call by reference. So here what I want to I'm highlighting is the way of passing the inputs from our calling function to called function, two ways basically. One is call by value. That means individually how many variables or how many data elements you want to pass, you can pass them directly. The second way is combine them as a group. It may be using what we called collection like dictionary or set or list. We have so many, right? So out of that you can use one of that, and so we can use any collection item and we can pass all together as a single component. So that is the basic idea of this particular argument passing. But which is better, and it depends on the data. If you have less parameters like 1, 2, 3, you can go for call by value. But if you have more number of parameters, like example 10 values or 5 values or 20 values, obviously it is better to go for collection rather than individual, because it may increase the length of the code and it may take some time to copy all the values individually. Like example, if I want to give you one marker by hand, I can give you. But if I want to give the 100 markers, it's not a good way to give all the markers by hand, right? We can put them into as a box and I will give you. It is easy to carry. So same approach here also. If you want to pass more values, go for collection. If you want to pass single value, go for call by value. That is the idea of the call by value and call by reference. So any doubt, call by value and call by reference?
Sir, please explain about self parameter.
We didn't start the oops concept, right? So self is a keyword in the functions of the oops, like class, I can say that. So self is also defined the global variables or instance variables, but it's a part of oops concept and class and object. It's not, we can't use self without class. So when I will start the class concept, I will explain what is self and what is super, that all keywords. But
okay,
without
sir.
class, we can't use that keywords. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, fine. Any other doubts?
No, sir.
Great.
Yeah, Satish.
Yeah.
How do we know the sum function 2? We are passing like address.
Can you repeat the question?
How do we know we are passing like address in the sum function 2?
Because we are passing as a list, right? See, here I mentioned the square bracket.
Like means how do we know we are passing as a list, right?
Yeah.
We are not passing address, right? So how do we know that we are passing like reference?
Because you come to the point. Like if you go for list only, always the list contains multiple values, right? That means internally it is representation of the only what do you call indices, I can say, that are addresses. Base address will start with always index number 0, but the list does not carry the actual value of the respective what we can say that physical values, because if you go for physical values, here 3 is there. So if in that case, if you carry the values individually, we have to define the 3 variables, right? But I'm defining one variable where internally contains 3 values. So externally, this entire we call one wrapper. So that means I can divide this into another way. So let's take example, L is equal to, I'm writing like this, okay? So now what happened, you see, entire these 3 values together converted as a one object or one reference called L. So this L is not variable, because if I print this L, so here if you see, if I'm printing this L in the, L, okay, L in this particular output, it does not print only the suspect value, it will print the reference of the square bracket, see that. So that means it all together carrying the data, it's not individually taking the data. So that indicates, and even you can print the type of L also. So the type of L, it does not show any variable like int or string, it will reference as a list class, see that. So it indicates that class is a, right, class means an object will come. So it is a list object. So object means it is a obviously reference to the what do you call it, respective list class. So internally it is carrying the address only.
So you meant to say like it internally act like a pointer, right?
Yes. If you
As well as
if you talk about C language, it is acting like a pointer. If you talk about like object oriented, it will treat as an object.
yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other doubts? Okay, good. Now there is another point here I want to explain is special arguments. So Python, now unlike Java, that means Java have these two topics, like we can pass data as a variables, as an object, we have call by reference and call by object in Java. But Python also introduced a new point called special arguments. So what do you mean by special arguments? Just before you mentioned, right, pointers, that topic he introduced. So he taken a concept of pointers from C language and he introduced in the Python along with call by object, call by reference. He also given the special arguments like pointers. Like example, I will tell you, see, special definition. Let's take example. I'm giving display. I'm taking bracket open and star. See, remember star p. So this is what we call special argument in Python. So whenever you return, the p is not mandatory. In the place of p, you can write x, y, z or anything, but the star is mandatory. If you return something before the argument star in any function, then the system will treat it as a special argument, that is a pointer variable. That means it can accept any number of values, any number of any type of values, I can say that. So you can send 1 value, 2 values, 3 values, 4 values, it will accept. So internally the p is acting as a list, or I can say that a pointer. So now let's take for x in p, I'm writing x in p, and now print x. See, now why I'm writing for loop is because p may get more values. Now you see I'm writing different syntaxes. Now display of 10 I'm writing first, okay. Now I'm writing display of 10 comma 20 I'm writing, it will accept 2. And now display, let's take 10 comma, here I'm writing hello comma 7.5. So 3 variations I mentioned here. So it can accept different number of arguments, it can accept different types of arguments. That is what the beauty of this particular p variable. Now you see I'm running, it doesn't show any error, it will accept all three. So initially it is printing that 10, and if you want to make it simplified, I can give n is equal to L, okay. And now you see that first 10 we got and 10, 20, okay. To make it a new line every time after for loop, what I will do, print I will write, okay. So to make it clear for you only, okay. Yeah, see here now. So first of all 10 we got only one value, then 10, 20, then 10 hello 7.5. See that it is capturing, it is capable of capturing all types of combination of inputs from the function. So this is generally we used in real time for optional arguments, because optional means user may give, may not give. So at that time, you have to use these special arguments. If you want to give the required arguments, better to go for regular arguments, basically. Okay, but this is one special argument they given in the Python. So did anyone have any doubt in this?
No, sir.
Okay, great. Similarly, there is another special argument called dictionary. See, it is representation for list, right? Similarly, we have another special collection called dictionary, right? To the represent the dictionary, they given one more special argument called double star. So single star means one value, double star means two values. So now the P is acting as a dictionary. So I can write P dot item. See that automatically the methods are activated. So now X comma Y. Now you can write here X comma Y. That means each item have the two values at a time, and it's purely acting as a dictionary. So simply I can give the differentiation. Single star means list, double star means dictionary, the representation. But internally, these are two special arguments in the Python functions. Now, if you want to call them, sorry, we have to change the function name because we can't write same function multiple times. And one more point I want to highlight, I want to tell you before going to the next point. Python does, in Python, if you write the multiple functions with the same name, then what happened, the latest function will override the first function. It does not show any error. Like I will show you one example. Here I'm writing F1, okay. Print, here I'm writing first, okay. Similarly, I'm writing the same function one more time. Definition F2. And here I'm writing print second, okay. Now, if I'm calling this not F2, F1 only. Yeah, F1. If I'm writing both are F1, okay. Now, if I'm calling F1, what happened? It does not show any error, but it always gives the output of second. It does not give the first, because in technically what happened means, in technically, whenever you return the multiple functions with the same name, then the latest function will override the first function. This is we call functional overwriting. So functional overwriting means when you define multiple functions with same name, the last function will override all the previous functions. So you will get only the output of the latest function. You never get the output of the previous functions. Okay. So this is we call overwriting. Similarly, if you want to achieve the overloading, for that only I explained this special argument. Special argument means any number of arguments we can pass. I hope you understand that point also. Like if you written the multiple functions with same name, it does not show any error, but it will override the latest function. Please understand that one, okay? So now I'm writing display to like as I mentioned, right? Single star means one value we are passing. Double star means we have to pass the two values. Let's take, I'm writing A colon 1 comma here B colon 2. Colon, one second. Yeah, so it's not colon, syntax will be equal. Okay. So then we will take the first one is like a variable. So the the key, and the second one will take as a value, and the first one will take as a key, and second one will as a key value. So now you will see A1, B2. Now you see the last one. Yeah, here you see A1 and B2 printing. So likewise, the data we are passing from the double star argument, that is called special argument in the Python. So here, whatever the, I'm just writing one heading. So single star we call non-keyword arguments. So non-keyword arguments, non-keyword arguments. Okay. So that's why in textbooks you may see it will represent as a star args. Okay, star args. And when you go for double star, we called it is keyword based arguments. Keyword means as we are passing the keys. In first case, we are working on indexes. Second one, we are passing keywords. So that is A, B keys we are acting, right? That one. Keyword based args. Okay. So that's why in test books you may find double star KW args. KW means keyword based arguments. So these are the two types of special arguments we have in the Python to pass your data from one place to another place. Any doubts till the point, please ask me. Otherwise, I will go to the next point called return types. But I will give you 1 or 2 minutes of time. Please, you can go through and recollect whatever doubts you have. You can ask me. Then I will move to the next topic. Okay, I hope nobody have no doubts. So the last point here I want to explain is so return types. Okay, so in functions we have an option like single return, multiple return also. Okay, like what is my point is in Java, if you go for C language, at most you can return one value from the function. You cannot return multiple values. If you want to return multiple values, you have to make them as a collection. You have to return a collection. Basically, that is the approach. But in Python, it's not like that. Even variables also you can return multiple. Like example, I'm writing fn. Okay. So first, very simple example. I'm taking function as a side as an input. Okay. Now I want to pass area and cube. Okay. So simply you can write say return side double star 2 comma side double star 3 means cube and square is coming. Okay. So now you see here I'm returning the two values. One is side square and side cube. Now while you're calling this function by passing some 10. Now it is returning two values, right? You have to store them in the two values. Like now x is contained the square, y is contained the cube. So this is what the new point we have in the Python. Other language does not support this approach. Okay. So other language at most we can send one value at a time. That means if you want to pass such kind of scenario, you have to make them as a collection and we have to pass it. This approach available in other language also. But without that, we don't have. But in Python, we can do that. So now you can print x comma y. So that will print your output. See that you are printing that output. See 100 and 1000. As again as a single value, if you want to pass, yes, you can put it as a brackets and you can put it as a list. So that is also possible. But here by default it is passing as a multiple values, that is as a tuple basically. So if you are written a multiple values one by one, so it will come internally convert them as a tuple and they will send it. Example for that, simply you can print by passing, let's take fn followed by some 5 I'm passing. Now you will see the output. You will get 5 square and 5 cube as a tuple. See that as a tuple you are getting. So you don't require to make them as a couple externally, but internally it will make a tuple and it will send as all together as a one list. So that is what the beauty of the return statement in the Python. So that means you can send one value or multiple values as per your requirement in the Python. So these are all different ways of sending the inputs and receiving the output and defining the functions and making them available to the execution. So these are all different key concepts of the functions only. But ultimate idea, as I mentioned, So whenever you want to write some snippet or some logic for any particular program, you can define them as a function, so that the function can be reusable, the function can be executable in multiple places and multiple times. So that is the basic idea. But the internal logic, however we want to write, however we are exposing as per the law requirement, that is as usual, however we learned in the previous classes. That is not, there is no difference in that. But only difference structural. So the structure we newly creating using def forward by function, we are executing them. That is only new thing here you require to understand. Okay. So this is all about the functions concept what we have in the what do you call Python. So in the next class, I may start important topic like generators and decorators and iterators. So these are the three important interview questions also. What is the difference between these three again? So that I will cover: decorators, generators, and iterators. Okay, and I may give for each one maybe one example that I will cover, and also like some more examples will cover along with this particular functions topic. If maybe we can cover some of the any what you call inbuilt functions or something like that. We may spend some time on that, and by completing that, we will move to the another important topic called exception handling and file handling. So once the two topics completed, then I will start the object-oriented features. That is class, object, inheritance, polymer. That all how to achieve in the OOPS. I mean the Python. I will start that. So that is the plan of action. So in next class we'll start the this generators, decorators topic, and we'll give some examples on inbuilt functions. Okay. So if you have any doubts, feel free to ping me in WhatsApp, or you can ask me at any time. So in the next class we'll meet by this new topics. Okay. So if anybody have any doubts, please.
KWR code.
Hello.
Please show that KWR's code.
This one only. KWR code means this one. Yeah, this one. Double star. This one. Instead of P, you can write KWR. That's, as I mentioned, right? The name, it doesn't make any sense. Only it makes the keyword. Like instead of P, you can write KWARGS. Why I mentioned especially means internet, you may find that word KWR. That's why I mentioned the word. See, that's it. Nothing difference. The indication is double star. After that, what is the word? It is nothing to the syntax. It's only usage. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
Any other doubts?
No.
Great. So please do some practice and ask me if you have any doubts. And I always share some of the task list with you in the group. Please go through that. Even I'm there, you will find the exercise on the functions also. Please go through that. If you have any doubt, please ping me. Okay. Have a great weekend. Bye bye. Take care.